In more than 2 years of fighting, the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson has been captured and liberated. Well, now the Russians are trying to take it back, and its people are under constant bombardment. In the midst of it all, Ukrainian Christians are risking their lives to serve those trapped by war. George Thomas brings us this exclusive report from the front lines.
Kherson is a city under siege.
They are shelling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Many buildings here are destroyed.
Sadly, I've gotten accustomed to the explosions and destruction.
CBN News traveled to this front line in the south and found a virtual ghost town. Streets practically empty, homes left vacant, most everything boarded up. 80% of Kherson residents fled more than 2 years ago. For Andrei Brinyov, a dentist who decided to stay back, it's been a constant struggle.
I have constant tension. When you go to work, when you go home from work, when you're at home, it's never ending and made worse when the explosions are nearby.
Yet it's in this extremely dangerous and volatile environment where Ole Derkenchenko feels called to minister.
My church to the Dnieper River is about 700 meters. The width of the river is about 700 meters. So the Russians are about 1.5 kilometers from us, and from there they are bombing us very often.
The Dnieper River divides Kherson, with the left bank controlled by Russian forces and the right by Ukrainians. Derkenchenko's church sits on the Ukrainian side.
There are times when Russian shells fall 25 meters left of the church and sometimes 30 meters right of the church, but nothing touches us. God protects us.
Before Russia's 2022 invasion, Pastor Derkenchenko says about 100 people would regularly attend his Sunday services. Today, in the middle of a raging war and less than a mile from Russian forces, his church is overflowing.
Since Christmas of 2022, around 500 people, sometimes as many as 700 people, attend the church. We have a full yard of people on Sundays.
Kherson has seen it all: invasion, occupation, and liberation. And now, despite the danger of Russian forces possibly crossing the Dnieper River to retake Kherson, the church doors remain open.
2 years after the war started here in Ukraine, the church is thriving. This used to be an evangelical church, completely destroyed. A bomb fell on top. Look at the bullet holes, the shrapnel holes. Obviously, they're not meeting here, but instead, they meet every Sunday in this tent.
People understand that the church today is a center of hope and inner peace.
On a recent Sunday, several people professed faith in Jesus Christ and took baptism in a tub.
And just imagine, we even have people who come to the war zone just to visit our church from other districts. People often tell me that they feel calmer here in the church than at home, and it's only God's kindness.
Serving here is obviously not without risk.
The Russians know exactly where our church is. During the occupation of Kherson, literally 50 meters from here, there was a vehicle with Russian agents inside that were monitoring what we were doing in the church.
Andriy Skantsev, another Kherson pastor who stayed, spends his days with a small band of brothers delivering aid.
When the Russians were retreating, they began to shell the entire city, and one of the shells landed right here next to the church. You can see the damaged walls.
Pastor Skantsev says his church has also seen explosive growth.
Before the war, about 150 people attended the church, but after the start of the war, 2 or 3 times more people started attending the church. Some got baptized, converted to Christianity. We had twice or thrice the amount of people who got baptized during the war.
most here know the Russians will have a tough time getting across the Dnieper River. That's because as they retreated in 2022, they blew up the Antonovsky Bridge, which Pastor Derkanchenko can see from his church office.
We are also praying that God can help our forces liberate the Russian-occupied territories on the left bank, because we have relatives and friends who live there.
For now, though, the daily bombardment continues, and the church stands in the gap for its people and nation.
Those people who decided to stay in this conflict zone are asking for help, and being here is extremely important, and to remain here is probably what it means to be a Christian, to show Jesus Christ.
George Thomas, CBN News, Kherson, Ukraine.
Well, that's a report from the front lines. Please pray for Ukraine. Please pray for peace there. And pray specifically that Russia would wake up to the horrors that they are committing. It's absolutely incredible that a whole country would get behind this kind of barbaric attack, but that's what's happening. And their media is absolutely controlled. If they can blame a terror attack coming out of ISIS-K and somehow Ukraine's involved in that, it shows you the depth of the misinformation that they're getting every single day. But we serve a God that sees it truly for what it is, and he is a righteous judge. Let us appeal to him that this horrible war would end and end quickly.